All right, looks like we are live, guys, with Tidbits and Scribbles. So tonight I had a few people tell me they wanted to join in, that they had questions, concerns, or things they needed help with. But I don't have a lot of people jumping into the feed. If they jump in later, I'll add them. For right now, I have Donna Carleen and Carl Winsman and Dan Hollifield. So they are going to help out tonight with whatever topic we come up with. And if you guys have one that you want, if you join in later, you have a topic or a question, just post it in the comments and I'll bring it up just as quick as I can. All right,
We
guys.
don't need no stinking rails.
Yeah, we don't need no rails. We don't need no direction. We will get this done.
Never here.
Well, we need some rails.
Well,
Kind
do
of
you have
is.
to be the voice of reason all the time?
He's the oldest child, firstborn. Yeah.
I am too, though. So
We
So
watched
am
we watched a show last night that actually had a topic, and it took them half an hour to get to the topic because the personalities.
Yeah. Well, and last time we covered a couple things, and of course, I didn't write them down on the paper that is near me. So I've forgotten what it was last time we were talking about to say, hey guys, here's what got asked last time, but we didn't have time to cover it. Do you remember what that was, Carl?
We talked about series. I know that doing series.
Yeah, and we covered that pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember anything that we didn't exactly cover at least part of it.
Okay. So tonight I had a couple things written down. So, like, who do you follow and why? Do you follow an author or a creative person or even an entrepreneur who is higher up the food chain than you? And the reasons for following that particular person.
Okay.
Well, I've got a set of writers. It's like I've had for years that are automatic buy. Whenever I see one of their books come out,
Yeah.
I plunk down the money.
Right.
But as the years have gone by, they have gone bye, and not for any reason other than they shuffled off this mortal coil and are no longer writing in any bookstore that I can get a hold of on this side of the ethereal plane. So I'm restricted to hunting up stuff that I never knew that they had done before, and when I find one of those, I'll plunk down my money. But I'm developing a whole new skein of writers who's have become automatic buys. So
Awesome. Well, one that I had thought of, I follow him, and it blows my mind because I am very much not Christian. But a relative of mine said, hey, why don't you follow Jerry Jenkins? Have you ever heard of Jerry Jenkins? This man has like 100 books out. Like,
Wow.
He's a prolific writer, so he must know something. Now, not all his books are religious. They might have a religious tone in them, or the person he writes about may be a religious person, but they're not strictly Christian. But if you follow jerryjenkins.com, you can even sign up for his newsletter, and he will send you daily prompts. And if you follow him on social media, he'll give prompts like, hey, here's a picture. In 6 words or less, write a story. Not a caption, a story.
Okay.
It's a little more difficult to do, but he gives you those challenges. And he gives away a lot of free information that a lot of people pay for.
Yeah.
So he's one that I follow. I don't necessarily try to emulate him because he's in such a separate genre than me, but he does have good business sense and good practical advice for writers.
That's cool.
I'm like Dan. Most of the writers whose books that I have to have, they're gone. Victoria Holt, Robert B. Parker, Agatha Christie, Charlotte Armstrong, and they're not you hear Christie, you hear Parker, you go, oh, you like mystery. Victoria Holt wrote mystery. She wrote gothic. She wrote historical.
I was going to say, I thought she did gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah. She depending on which pen name she used, Charlotte Armstrong was suspense. She was a female North by Northwest.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, she was a female Hitchcock. She's very excellent most. Paretsky, who one of them is still alive, although at 74, I doubt she's still right. She doesn't look like she's still writing. I would not call her that so much a mystery as an action, because her V.I. Washarsky's getting beat up or beating somebody up in almost every fourth paragraph. So, I guess I follow them. I'm inspired by shows like In the Heat of the Night, Murder, She Wrote. But I don't write mysteries. I'm not good at writing mysteries.
That's me. I don't write mysteries, but I like those shows. Yeah.
I've managed to do it once, and I had to copy Conan Doyle to be able to do it.
The one I'm coming up on.
That's the one. If you like Sherlock Holmes, I read every Conan Doyle and every Sherlock Holmes pastiche I could lay my hands on before I ever typed the first word. I had to get Dr. Watson's voice down as the narrator perfectly. Otherwise, I would not have let it been printed. So I think I did really well with that, but I don't think I could ever do it again. It's very difficult to write as an homage to a favorite writer, trying to get their voice down instead of using your own.
Yeah, that's something I haven't even tackled yet.
Yeah.
It's a good exercise.
I can imagine it would be.
And it can turn out to be really, really fun, but it's not something you want to do instead of your own original material.
One author that I'm following right now is Ben McIntyre. He writes mostly. He wrote one book about crime, but it's mostly about World War II espionage, and that's an interest of mine. The thing that I like about him, which I could not emulate at all, is he will do the research so that he can say, this was June the 4th of 1943, and it was raining that day, and clouds covered the sky. And I'm like, wow, he really did a lot of research into this to describe, what kind of day it was. And then he'll describe people. So he even describes what kind of clothes they typically wore. So this one guy is always in tweeds and jodhpur pants, perhaps. And I'm like, really? Okay. But you'll see later, if you see pictures in there, you'll see, he's seen pictures of these guys. He's really done research on them. To be able to
the material that they could use at the time, and what was used, and what was common, what may not have been common. I believe it was Julie Garwood. Don't quote me, but I think it was Julie Garwood that said that used a lot of that. She would tell you the type of fabric they used on the dress, the type of food that they had at the dinner. And she went into great detail about, this is what they would do for the day dress, for the evening dress, and she would describe how the women actually got dressed and got undressed and what it took. And it's like, for a romance novel, I don't know that I want all that. And maybe that's a sign of the times, because back when she was writing, people did want that. They wanted to know all that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But now it seems like the stories need to flow faster. You got to grab that reader's attention and hang on.
This is true. That's why some of the older style of mystery or historical doesn't work nowadays, because the pace is so much slower back then. Nowadays the readers want, pop, pop, pop.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you can throw in all these details that you can research, but they really want the story to progress much faster.
They seem to want you to glaze over the details and just tell them that it happened out west.
And that's why I would never try to imitate Mr. McIntyre's style, because, even though I find it fascinating because of the times, he's describing the clothing of the times, and that was important in some parts of the story. I don't think that I could ever do that, because it would bore me.
Yeah.
Writing it. Now, in his particular story called Operation Mincemeat, it was very important because they were dropping a dead cadaver into the ocean near Spain with a briefcase handcuffed to his hand, in hopes that the Nazi agents that were hiding around in Spain would pick up the false plans in that briefcase and plan according to the false plans, which they did, actually. So this is a real true life incident.
Yeah,
he had to be very careful but he was describing how he had to have the right uniform. They had to put particular things in the pockets so that it would look normal. And that was very important.
That was amazing, the way they built the fictional character they created for this random dead guy that they got.
He even had a girlfriend. They put a picture of a gal in a bathing suit in his pocket so that, that would be his girlfriend, and letters.
He had a couple of letters from her. Got one of the secretaries in the office to pretend to be the girlfriend and write letters. And they had a couple of theater tickets. They had a note from his bank where he had he bounced a check.
Yeah.
So little things like that. Yeah. But that was part of
they immerse you in the story. It makes you feel like you're there.
And you have to weave those together. Like he would have the secretary writing the letter, and then he would have, the trouble with finding the correct cadaver, and then he'd have something about the officers that were in charge of it, and then the people that were above them that were having problems with the whole plan, and whether it would be canceled at the last minute or not, and what. So all these things were interspersed, which made it a lot more interesting. If he had just gone from this date to this date, it probably wouldn't have been as exciting.
No, and you lose some of the reader's, intent. Because as a reader, you don't want to read a biography that is even a biography or a factual. Oh, what am I thinking? A factual accounting of a situation. You still want color. You don't want it black and white. You still want the color there.
Yes.
Because that's even our history books in school. It's like, some of that was crap, but it helped you to read it, especially little kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but the sort of detail that they underwent to build this fictional person. And make him believable to the Nazis in Spain, so that it wouldn't just go, oh, okay, this is a black ops, this is bullshit. So this is obviously not a real person. That would help a writer try and figure out what sort of things their characters would have, just what do you carry around in your pockets on a day-to-day basis? What have you got in your wallet that is there just because it's got some sentimental meaning and not because you're going to use it to pay a bill or whatever? Just the extraneous junk that folks really just have on their person that make them a little bit more, in this case, more believable as a real person. And
Well, and I
you
remember reading a
you're
book.
right.
I don't remember the book, but I remember reading a book, and in just this part of the book, the girl, it was some sort of romance book, and she was trying to eat yogurt because she knew it was good for her, but she had never, ever developed a taste for it. Right there, I identified with that character and was like, yeah, me too. That character's fake. How am I identifying with a fake person? Well, because that writer wrote her good enough that I went, oh, yeah, me too. To this day, I can remember that line from that scene, but that's it. I don't remember what book that came from. I don't remember the author, but I remember that scene because I identified with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all part of making your characters real to the reader.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and that's for Valentine's Day in my group, and leading up to Valentine's Day. Here in the next couple of days, I'm going to start featuring my warriors. And then right about Valentine's Day, I'll let people pick, okay, who's your favorite? Who do you want the next book to be about? Because now that Warrior's Honor is coming along, I know what characters are there. But I think it'll be fun for them to just pick one. You know, this guy sounds interesting, right? Something about him, you know.
Oh, very nice. Will that take the form of book number 5, or is that?
It'll probably be book 5, yeah. Because it'll give me
So
all
you
summer
don't-
to really think
So
about
you
it.
don't really care what order your characters are cameoed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because some people do. They say, no,
They do,
this
yeah.
character must come before that character because
Yeah.
of something they've got in their head already that's going to happen. So that's great.
Hello,
You can do that.
Keisha. Keisha has joined us.
Hello.
Our newest author to the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wading through. Well, wading through as if it's some sort of a pain, but it's not. I'm reading her book at work, and right now I've gotten to the point to where she now has a boyfriend, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, things are going entirely too well.
Yeah. You got it.
You noticed that, did you?
Yeah. I'm going, caution, plot twist ahead.
Oh, wait till you see what kind of twists are in store.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Just wait and see. I'm so excited. I'm as excited as Keisha is about that damn book.
I am trying very hard not to second guess things.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, so now my next topic that I wrote down was, what do you do with your IP properties, your intellectual properties? Because as we get older, I hate to say it that way, but as we get older, you got to figure out what to do with them. And in fact, with my one that is with a publisher, that's a requirement. You must put it in your will as to where those funds go.
Okay.
So
yes, I was just advising a friend that they needed to get a will done right away.
Yes.
Says you has not done anything with his yet.
Oh, we have wills, but they just
and
need
that's
to
the
be
thing.
But
updated.
they have nothing to do with our
IP stuff. Yeah.
Literally,
Intellectual property is a
we
whole
probably
other
need to
type
work
of
on
will.
that.
Yeah.
We need to
because
work on
let's
that,
say, God forbid, let's say it happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where does Amazon send those funds? You know, where does whoever you use, Lulu or whoever, where do they send those funds? So that's something that it's like, wait a minute, how does all that work? So if you run your books as a business, it's something to figure out.
Yes, it is. We plan to have our wills updated and probably will include language that includes that.
Right.
And, I will probably end up putting my passwords somewhere where someone can find them after, if
in a red book.
In the worst case, Donna and I go at the same time.
Well, that's the other thing, yeah.
This friend will get them and be able to get into the account and say, "Oh yeah, thank you."
Right. I can take this over. I can take the reins and run with it.
Well, one thing I've managed to accomplish since I decided that I needed to make out a will, I have found someone who's willing to be my literary executor.
And that's the other thing. Like, I could leave it to my husband and say, just like with the will, if I were to pass first, everything then passes to my husband. Well, that's all well and good. he won't do anything with my IP stuff.
Yeah.
He will leave it set. You know, he doesn't care if it goes one way or the other. But now my girls might have an interest in that. They might take up the mantle and run with it, because I've got one who's an avid reader, and I've got one who's a dang good editor, and together those two can get it done. Even if they weren't to reach out to my friends or my network, they could get it done on their own if they wanted to. And that's the other thing. If they want to let it sit, that's fine too. But I need to figure out the legal aspects of leaving them all that.
Keisha has a very nice comment that no one's ever allowed to pass ever to say.
No, that's not allowed to happen ever. Yes.
But
no, I
we
agree.
all know that will eventually occur.
We do have to go on other adventures sometime.
Right.
I'm just saying.
So it is something to think about. And yeah, you know, for me, you know, I would pass anything to Donna, but if Donna were not around, probably, you know, would have to pick somebody else.
It's something to think about. Yeah.
It is. And someone who does and someone who, if you had something halfway done, you know, would be able to do something with it in the style that you do. I mean, because, you know, let's face it, if I said, you know, I'm going to give this to this one friend of mine, and I know she does not write in the same style, and she would only take it off the rails, I'm sure. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
That was my concern, and the fact that Lindsay doesn't know anything about the business really, except what she's heard me say and what she remembers me talking about. Now, she's not by any means uneducated. She could figure it out if she had to, and she's a damn fine editor as well. But my challenge was to find somebody that is not family and knows my work and is willing to keep stuff going and make sure that Lindsay doesn't get cheated out of any royalties that would happen to come in.
Sure.
Right.
And has no vested interest in taking anything over and making it theirs rather than let Lindsay have the money. So, and I have found that individual.
Oh, good.
Yes. So I will have to take a time off from work and go to one of the local lawyers about in the town near where I live, and same folks that did my mom and dad's wills. So, you know, it'll be they already know what they're getting into as far as this property goes here, this property goes here, and then I'm going to have to throw a spanner in the works and go, you know, I've got this stuff you probably never heard of before, but because there's only like 1,000 people that live in the town, you know, and not many of those are writers, let me tell you. So that's gonna, and I don't know, it shouldn't cost an awful lot. It's pretty standard to make up a will.
Brian, I can send you a link if you want one.
I just told him he could be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can fit 6 people in here. But my next thing was, do you regularly chase your goals? Now, all of us in this room right now are in different stages of our careers, but do you regularly chase your goals, and why or why not?
Now, I'm having problems.
I'm going to have to go to the fridge for that one.
Okay, I'm having problems deciphering that. Are you saying chasing or changing?
Either, whatever.
Okay.
But I originally said chasing.
We're chasing after? Okay.
Yeah. Are you chasing after your goals?
I can answer that very easily. My goal is to write 2 more books and then probably retire from writing, unless, you know, they become wildly popular. Yeah, great, good. Rest on my laurels.
Yeah.
I will rest on my laurels and sell those books in the back catalog, and then just do editing and book covers and things like that.
But on
Because
the
I
down
have
low, so nobody knows you do it.
well, yeah, and more as an editor publisher sort of thing, to help younger folks to get up to there, you know. But yeah, as far as ideas to be writing that are pushing me, I've got 2 right now, and when those are done, then so I'm not really chasing that goal too well because
Right.
what's my
But
motivation?
and like I said,
to do that
we're all in
quickly,
different
you know?
stages of our careers. So,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah,
Dan,
exactly.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you're getting ready to retire. Are you then going to chase the book dreams more?
Absolutely. Otherwise, who knows what back alley of insanity I would go down. No. Without the outlet of writing all the stories that are in my head and making all the music that's in my head, I would probably have wound up in a straitjacket a long time ago.
I hear you. Yes. What about you, Donna?
I'm kind of on the same page as Carl. I have one last story to finish, and since that's taken me like 2 years, I'm thinking really seriously of not doing that anymore. Creating my own
The
and
shock on Carl's face.
helping other people. This
That
is
is
going to
totally
be
unexpected.
the 8th or 9th book in the Hunter's Ridge series.
Yeah, and I think we have only 4 published. So you have a backlog of books,
Yeah.
There's still a backlog.
And
which it will be. I'll be helping her get those published.
and there's 7 or 8 in the Beth and Hills series, which only 3 of those have been published so far. And then I've got a bunch of others. And I have seriously been thinking of redoing my first 2 poetry books into one book and
that'd be nice.
Republishing that.
Yeah.
And
well, that's
it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's one thing Linda did. She pulled some of her books and she had them in a series, and now that series is kind of defunct. And so she's going to redo them. And now she's thinking of changing a lot of the things with them and starting a whole new series of going the direction she wants to go with it. So, I mean, shoot, the possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah. And I have 2 books I wrote in the 1980s that I really need to hire somebody to do some cover art or do the cover art myself and just get them published. They're science fiction.
I was going to say, I know a guy.
It's about time because they're great.
They're science fiction comedy.
They're hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Them.
Thank you, dear. And get those out. And those are actually ones that possibly could go into other media. Hint, you know.
Hey, I had that discussion with Joe D. McPhee because I've got one that I'm not working on it presently, but as soon as I get through with the obligations I have at the moment, that one is going to be finished, and I am deathly afraid that somebody will want to turn it into a comic book. I do not write. Because I do not write that way. Someone would have to adapt it to the sequential art style.
Yeah. I've had people tell me that the first book, Warrior Secret, is a good, or it feels like a scene from a D&D game.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had no idea. I wrote it the way I wrote it because I wanted to write it that way. And since then, other people have said the same thing. They're like, oh, yeah, that could totally be a D&D thing.
Well,
okay.
This one is a classic fantasy. I mean, it's exactly the sort of thing that someone would use as a not a straight script, but a source material for doing comics, graphic novels, basically, because the way I write it would be. I don't know who Selby Foote is, though.
But he sounds like you.
Oh, well. Louis Grizzard and I have a lot in common, but or did up until a certain point.
Yeah.
And
But that's like,
now you have to Google it.
Somebody asked me if I was going to write another Beth and Hill, and I don't know what to do with them. I want to break Hill's arm, but I don't know, and I know how that would happen.
Oh,
but
that's
I don't have a good story around it.
Historian. I knew I saw that name somewhere. I'm
Okay.
like, I know that name. How the hell do I not know that name?
Yeah, I think Mad Gasser Cheerleader could probably be a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written it because I see it in my head, and I could almost turn it into a script. I mean, from what it is now, but I could see somebody taking it and adapting it and making it into a graphic novel. I don't see comic that's like in comics, floppy comics, but I could see somebody making it into a novel. The second one, The Return of the Mad Gasser Cheerleader, may be more cerebral. The guy is in his 60s now, and in the book, and he's a lot less active, and a lot of it goes on inside his head. So I'm not sure that one would do so well on that. But.
Yeah,
no, but that's when we come back to
somebody really talented as a graphic novel script writer could work with that. Yeah.
Could do it, yeah.
Now, it might be a little bit of work, but they might still be able to do it.
Now, the science fiction one I can totally see as a comic book.
Really? I was thinking it would be more like a movie.
It would make a good movie, too, but...
Yeah.
The only difference between a comic book and a movie is the pictures move faster.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember?
Hey, there's some deep philosophy I never thought of.
Yeah.
What do you have, Carl?
I wanted to mention that this month is the 20th anniversary of Lulu.com.
Oh, that's right.
And they are having a special, and it works for authors or readers. But if you enter 420, that's FOR, 20 for 20, they will give you a 20% off of any purchase until I think the 11th. So I need to order some books, I suppose.
Yeah. And that works for you 20%. As an author ordering your own books. And it works for
readers. So if anybody wanted to read like something that Donna and I had written, this is your chance to save 20% on it, which is probably more than enough to cover the tax and shipping.
Well, I need to put that up on my page.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, and I was going to say, share it in my group too. Lulu is one of those websites that if you aren't familiar with, you can publish books through Lulu. Mm-hmm. But I just haven't checked it out yet, just for the simple fact I don't have time. Or haven't had time. I haven't made time.
I kind of from what I've heard people say, from problems they've had with Amazon shipping, I've never had a bad shipment, where something got damaged or was messed up from Lulu. It's always very well packed, and everything comes ready to sell pretty much. I mean, you just take it out of the box, sign a couple copies, and set them out on your table. You're ready to go. So I'm really impressed with that. Also, the level of control that you have in it, and I just like the way they do business. So
Yeah. Bye, Brian.
Oh,
night, Brian.
Night, Brian. Yeah, 4 a.m. Wow.
Yeah, he's an old man. He can't stay up late and then get up at 4.
He can't play with the cool kids anymore.
I sometimes wake up at 4, but it's not intentionally.
Oh, yeah, same here.
It's intentional here. I got to get the little kid to work. So
it was great.
Her a little kid, and people must think I'm a slave driver, but it's like, no, she's just my littlest one. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Get them in the coal mine early.
Yeah. The sweatshop. That's why I got her a sewing machine.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, sweatshop, coal mines, it's all good.
Another topic that I had was procrastination, which I've been doing a lot of lately, and why. And I know why now that I'm doing it. I
Okay.
am almost finished with this book, and the only thing I have to write are the 2 or 3 last chapters. The last chapter is no problem. It's exciting. It's not going to be a
Okay.
problem. I've already started on it. The 2 chapters leading up to it have what I call boring bits. And Donna said, no. I know what other people, especially what Kayla's going to tell you, is don't write a boring chapter. Yeah. But sometimes that lead up, it's kind of like when the roller coaster starts going slowly up the hill.
Right. But
And
is there a way to spice
once
it
you go
up
down
just
the
a
hill,
bit?
there
Is there a
might
way
be.
that you can make it go a little faster?
There
So
might
what
be.
if
Yeah.
what if you do this? What if you write it and then hand it off to Donna or hand it off to me, and we look at it and go, okay, here's how you can make it go faster.
Okay.
Because
I
I've got
will
another
probably
friend
have to do
that I do that with. I'm like, just puke the words on the page,
that.
get them
Yeah.
out there, and then later you can decide, because then you can work with something. If you don't have
Yeah.
anything on the page, you don't have anything to work with. So even if it's bad, because I've still got authors telling me, well, I can write, but it's bad. Well, at least write the bad so that you can make it better.
Every
you can't
first
make
draft
anything
is
better.
bad.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that's, I don't remember who said it because my memory sucks, but it was either Stephen King or someone like that, a higher up author than I, because that's who I follow. Is anyone higher up the food chain than me? And they said, you've got to write 1 million crappy words first. And I don't remember if it was Gaiman or if it was Stephen King that said it. I think it was Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
You think it was King?
It could have been
It
either
might
one
have
of
been.
them. They're both.
Yeah, because I listened to both of them.
both of them would know exactly
Yeah.
what they were
Yeah.
talking about.
And they said you got to write 1 million shitty words first. Well, if you look at my writing, if I look at my writing alone, and compared to no one else's, yeah, you got to write 1 million shitty words. I've got stacks of books that I wrote by hand back in the day that I
Yeah.
look at now and I'm like, well, the story's good, but that sucks. Like, you're going to have to work on that, girlfriend.
Yeah. I thought I wrote all that. I wrote those 1 million words though in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
So,
I think I'm already on my 5th million shitty words.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But yes, I will
There we
go
go.
ahead and write
Ernest
those.
Hemingway.
I
Yeah.
will. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, I will get those done and out to
Yeah,
you and
just-
see what you say. I mean,
and then
there
we'll
are
go
just
from
some things to lead up to, like I say, to lead up to the action that happens in the end that have to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I have to do them, they're not as exciting, perhaps.
So make it exciting.
But I can spice them up somewhat because
Yeah.
I do intersperse it with sex scenes of sorts, and
Oh, those are spicy. I like those.
you know. So
More
yeah,
of that, yes.
yeah, more of that. Okay.
Oh, I was going back through the one that I'm almost finished with, and I go, this boy does get laid a whole lot more than I thought he would when I was first creating him.
I thought you were going to say a lot more than me.
Oh no,
That's what
we're
I
here.
strive for with my characters. I'm like, are they getting it?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Let's
no.
not-
If I wrote him like me, there wouldn't be anything else left in the damn
Oh,
story.
that would be a different genre? Okay. New genre.
Wow.
That would be in my book.
Yes,
Mhm.
that would
Yes.
be genre stuff.
I have
I
had
get-
an active
yeah.
personal life.
Yeah. I kind of had to add a little bit of romance and excitement to the second book by pairing off the new sheriff, who was the deputy in the first book, okay, with one of the victims of
Oh,
the
that's
man
right.
captured
You told me
cheerleader.
that. Yeah.
Yes, and that has proved exciting because as they get closer, she gets more amorous as they get closer to the solving of the crime.
Solving
So he's
crime,
he's like, I've got to solve this crime.
yeah. Or maybe.
Well,
he'd be
maybe
like, wait a minute, I don't want to
shouldn't
solve it
solve it.
just yet.
Not just yet, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe just wait a minute.
Yeah. And in the end, there's a twist that will be exciting, but I'll save that.
See,
Something
now
we
you're
discussed. Yeah. Something we discussed this morning during Brian's show was professional jealousy.
Oh,
yeah.
Mm.
And then we got sidetracked onto something else. But one of the things I try not to do is be jealous of other writers, I'm kind of jealous of artists because I cannot draw. So I'm just kind of like, but I accept that. Okay. And I just move on from there. But I try not to be jealous of other writers because everyone's path is different.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's writing is different. And sometimes you write something and you think this will not sell more than maybe, I don't know, 100 copies at the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to write it anyway because it matters to me. And other people are like, no, I'm writing to the market because, I want to make a bunch of money on this.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of look at that, I think, to see what your motivation is, to see what you're going to write. And, so I'm not jealous because this person makes a lot of money on writing or this person sells a lot of books. And that's how I look at it. How do you guys feel, gals and guys?
I write stories that I want to read that nobody else can write.
Okay.
Exactly. See, that's what I do. I write it because I wanted to read it because growing up, I got to read everything that my mom read, my grandma read, my aunts read, and they read the Harlequin romance or the historical romance by like Cassie Edwards and Julie Garwood, things like that. So I'd read them and I'm like, man, this is good for romance, but it just doesn't go dark enough or deep enough into the story. Like I want more. And so I
you want deeper, not that surface stuff.
Yeah, I don't want it was nice and it was cute and the hero was lovely and the dress was lovely. Well, okay, tell me more. Why is the hero lovely? Why is the hero awesome? What did he do that made him awesome? Why did she fall head over heels for this jerk? Come on now.
You're in the show, don't tell.
Uh-huh.
You're in the show me, okay, what did he do that was so heroic? Not
right.
He
Don't
was
just
heroic.
Tell me he's fantastic.
Well, okay. Great. I'm glad she thinks so, but you may not feel
Yeah, like why is she falling head over heels for this jackwagon? Like he didn't do shit.
He just rode into town and saved a cat out of a tree,
Right, like he's pretty,
heroic.
but what else has he got going for him? And so for me, it was none of these books do that. None of these books go darker or deeper. And that was the other thing. Like, I realize it's Hallmark and all, but could we have a little bit of, I don't know, real life drama? Because these days, when someone writes contemporary romance that I've read, I'll put it that way, disclaimer, the ones that I've read, it's always this girl that goes out west because she's leaving everything behind. She's starting fresh. She's going to go out west. She's going to open a bookstore, and she's successful the moment she walks in that door. She sold everything she had in that bookstore on day one. And then, lo and behold, her knight in shining armor walks through the door. And everything is happily ever after. It's like, that doesn't happen. Tell me that her car broke down and she was kidnapped and and she struggled to make her way and someone stole all of the money that she had and she had to start over from scratch. Don't give me Hallmark. They have a whole TV channel for that.
Yeah.
Give me real life grit, real life stuff that happens.
Yeah, really. The knight in shining armor walks through the door and she hits him with a frying pan because he's fresh.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I like about Victoria Holt or Mary Stewart. The knight in shining armor is kind of rusty.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Linda, it is fiction, but Michaela wants friction.
I do. I want friction. Yes.
Which, if you've ever read any of her books, there's lots of friction in there.
There's friction, yeah. I'm good at
well-
friction, apparently.
Well, and
Yes,
I didn't mean that
I
as double
want real
entendre, but
conflict.
if you take it as such, it's
Oh,
good.
yes, I did take it
Of
as
course
such.
you
because,
did.
yeah,
Now Dan's like, oh shit, I should have got her books.
Yeah.
no.
That's the real part of it, though, and I have seen it with my fans. They've said, well, I like romance and all and fantasy, but I've kind of been let down. I've kind of been disappointed. And like one lady was there, and I said, well, you could sign up for my newsletter and see what I got coming out next, and you get little tidbits of what I do, and sometimes I'll include a chapter or two that you can read for free. And she says, yeah, Linda's read all of them, even the nitty gritty, dirty parts.
Mhm.
But this lady was like, I just can't find romance books that are really romance, that the story is good, the romance is good, it's not one or the other. And I said, well, why don't you sign up for my newsletter? And she's like, I get all kinds of newsletters. And I said, or she said, how dirty are your books? And I said, well, my newsletter is called Notes from an Info. So, and before I could even get the last word out, she's writing down her email address. I was like, well, it's only going to get darker and naughtier as we go. So,
Yeah.
So hang on.
Well, and there's a market for both,
There
and
is.
maybe, certain people won't buy, and that's why like I say, I don't get jealous if I don't sell as many as somebody else, because that's not my market. The people that will buy a book from me will say, wow, okay, yeah, I like that.
Right. I want
And they'll
creepy. I
they'll
want
get it.
mysterious.
They'll get
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And especially if I write humor, if it's only for those people who will get the joke. If somebody doesn't get the joke, I usually say, you might want to read somebody else, because you're not going to get any of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think
Absolutely.
Donna has much jealousy of other writers.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
That's cool.
It's
I
almost
probably
like somewhere. Go ahead, Donna.
Just
sorry.
to be able to hold a book is
Mhm.
really.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised when people tell me there's been like 3 different books that people say, this needs a sequel to. I'm like, I have no story for that. And
Cool, Linda.
The Seduction of Lily Monroe, I've had 2 people tell me that it didn't have enough sex in it. And I'm like,
Wow.
really?
Okay. Well,
What your
and
next
here's
book will have to be.
Yeah.
The Marriage
there's
of Lily
people that
Monroe.
they'll look for books that specifically someone has reviewed it horribly because there was too much sex, or there was too much violence, or there was too much of whatever. They will specifically look for those reviews to go, okay, I'm going to read that book. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And then there's people that, I hate this term, but they will come up to me and they will say, are your romances clean? Please.
Yeah, it's a loaded
The only
word.
cool part is if they jumped in a bubble bath. Okay. I don't even like that word. Like,
Well, they were in the shower that one scene, so
yeah. But clean to me means like sex is not dirty. So like, what do you mean clean? They mean they want, shut the bedroom door. We know that there's a romance, but we don't need to see what the romance is about.
They want it the way I write it, where you get the personal interaction between the 2 characters, but it's not like Penthouse Letters. There's no graphic detail. It's all.
Oh yeah.
You've got to use your imagination to see that. Oh yeah, they're really getting it on here. It's more like, oh yeah, that she surprised me again. And then when we went to bed, she found 3 new ways to surprise me. Hey, and I'm great at dropping suggestions in. I'm not comfortable with writing Penthouse forums,
Ironically enough,
not everyone is, and not everyone has to. I mean, if the reader can figure it out.
If I can do it on the level of a 1940s, 1950s movie, where nothing is on screen, but without a doubt what's going on.
Yeah, you know what they did after dinner. Yeah. But that's
ironically the majority of my stories are like that. They're not explicit.
Right.
There's a lot of innuendo and
know
stuff,
what's going to happen, but yeah,
the actual sex happens off the page, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
But these three just had to be written the way they had to be written, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Yeah.
that's
Well,
when
yeah.
I'm doing a collaboration, and I don't know how much I can say yet, but I asked the other person that I'm collaborating with, I said, so if I write some of the books in the series and you write some of the books in the series, do you want me to help you with the like love scenes? If you don't want to write them, do you want them steamier? And she was like, well, you know, we'll see what the story calls for, you know, and if the two characters in this story are going hot and heavy at it, and then all of a sudden we shut a bedroom door, that's like a cold shower. We can't do that, you know, or it would be not fun to do that to the readers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe on our end it would be. but yeah, we'll see how the story plays out, and if it
Sure.
evolves that it needs that, then we'll add it. But that's why the collaboration works. And then if I write a story that it didn't feel right to put that in there, I'm not just going to throw it in because I like to read those scenes.
Right. Yeah.
You know, even though most of the stuff I write is steamier and it's way past steamy, but
yeah. When in the latest book, the perpetrator was pleasuring himself. Okay. You'll notice that I didn't write every stroke. You know, I'm not going to do that. That would be pornographic, you know, and would put the book into a totally different category. And some people would be totally
a whole new genre there.
Yeah, some people would be totally turned off by that. But I've written it in such a
just for that.
Well, that's true. That's true. Maybe I could have two different versions. But
there you go.
But it was integral to the plot what he was doing and why.
Yes.
And I had to write it in a way that people go, oh, okay, that's disgusting, but he didn't write it in a disgusting manner. You know, but they hate my protagonist even more after reading it. But they don't hate me.
Right there, yeah.
The chapter that I had to remove, one of the chapters that I had to remove from Secret was from the viewpoint of Cassidy's uncle, who is a complete douchewaffle.
Right.
But in my mind, when I first wrote it, I wanted the reader to understand he's a douchewaffle. Like you need to get this picture. And to me, I had to write that chapter. Now, chapter didn't make it because the publisher was like, that is a bit much, and no, you will not do that. There was also the integral scene to the story I was really worried about. But the publisher recognized that was integral to moving the story along and the plot and how things happen. But they were like, but you do have to tone it back. Like, what do you mean? And they were like, no, you got to take out, I think it was 3 sentences is all it was. But it did change that just a little bit. And I thought, man, I'm really going to lose this character. I'm going to lose the reader's not going to think he's such a bad guy now because some of these elements are taken out. And the first thing my mother-in-law said to me was, does Henry die in the end? He needs to die. Okay, point.
So you did it. No, you did it. From my reading of Secret, you did do it. I mean, he played out very badly. So maybe you didn't need those 3 sentences to make it happen.
And that's another part of becoming a better writer. And another part of it was they said you could only use Cassidy's point of view or Hawk's point of view. That's it. Which is why 2 different chapters had to go. They were not written from their points of view. They were completely another character's point of view. Now, as an indie, I can do that. When you go through a publisher, that's not allowed. Now, at first, I, being the person that I am, I railed against it. And I was like, no, it must be in there. And this has to stay. And how am I going to write this story? And how am I going to show the reader what I want to show them if I don't have this chapter? I had to become a better writer. I had to figure it out. And sure enough, I got my point across. And I think it added a little bit of the mystery to who helped her that night. You know, who was her savior? She didn't know. She still doesn't know. but the reader can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, so I can write it a different way. When it took me a month of throwing a fit, of saying, no, it has to be there, for me to figure out, no, it doesn't. And it was probably a lot of Linda going, okay, moron, figure this out. Like, you will get this.
Yeah, there are some things that can be left up to the reader to figure out.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm notorious for rehashing something. And that's something that I'm sure you guys have noticed when you edit. Like, I will rehash something, and Linda has caught me on it like 3 or 4 times in the same manuscript. And I'll type back to her after I've figured out that, oh, crap, this is something I did. I should have caught it. I will type things back like, well, I wanted the reader to understand it. With the little laughy face behind it. Like, I got it. I'm sorry. My bad.
I know. When I looked at one of your books. Oh,
yeah.
I poked you a couple times. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When I was reading, I was like, these characters argue a lot. And it seemed to me they were arguing about the same thing.
Yes.
But see, that's from a male point of view. Okay. Because that's how, oh God, not this again. Because that's how we think as soon as our spouse or significant other bring up something, we're like, oh, it's this thing again. But maybe it's not. And you told me, no, it's not exactly the same thing they're fighting about. I had to look back and go, okay, it wasn't the exact same fight, but it was similar. It was similar.
Most of my
she was
readers
pushing
are
another
women.
point. Yeah. So
you
she was
can
pushing
get away with a little bit of that.
Yeah. And she was pushing a slightly different point. When you pointed it out to me, I was like, okay, I can see from her point of view, this is a totally different fight. Yeah. But from the male character's point of view, he was probably thinking, not this again.
Yeah, here we go again. Here we go again. Same shit. And that's honestly, that's okay. That's honestly something I need. I need the man's point of view. Oh, jeez. But with having different people read it before it goes to the public, I get that feedback. I get that. And if you, as a new writer, don't have that, find that. That's what we talk about. Find your tribe. Find your people that are going to honestly tell you this part sucks. Or hey, from a guy's point of view, this doesn't work at all. You tweak this, do something with it. Or flat out, a guy would not say that. Or this type of guy would not say that. Because it's completely different if you're writing male on male. Or if you're writing a guy who lives in the city as opposed to a guy who lives in the country in the modern day. Right. And historically, if you're writing a king versus a peasant, you got to figure it out. Either they would act completely different.
Yeah. But on the other hand,
part of that was this kind of guy wouldn't say that.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
On the other hand, while Carl was going, they keep arguing about the same thing. I'm like, seeing it from the woman's point of view, I was going, no.
Yeah, no.
Every argument's making absolute sense to me in the story.
But
you just don't understand what the basis of the argument was. You're just seeing the non-trivial continuation of, you're following a pattern.
Yeah. Well, and there were a few things where when Linda pointed them out to me, I had to laugh at myself because when I read it, I was like, God, what was I thinking? So then I would send back a little note or whatever, a comment on the thing that said, I was trying to make the reader understand, okay?
Yeah.
But it did. It got to the point where it was like, oh, shit, did I say that again? Did I use that phrase again? But you do, and that's one of the reasons that we tell all the new writers, I know an editor is expensive. I know they are, but get one anyway. And don't just have your mom look at it because your mom loves you. They don't generally want to hurt your feelings. Mine would, but that's a different story. But get yourself an editor. Like
Carl, I had that same thing with Carl's manuscript on the new Mad Gasser.
Okay, the first half,
where cops will say we need a fresh pair of eyes on this. He had
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had somebody say that 4 different times in like 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah, there were different people saying it, but yeah, you're right. I had to change
Well,
it somewhat because it was getting a little bit
you say the
redundant.
cops
Well,
and the cops might
even
say this, but
even
this
if
other
you say the
person,
same thing and you feel like you need to say the same thing, say it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of ways to say the word they said, she said, he said. There's a lot of different ways to say that. And so it's just that repetition that, like Linda said, give your reader credit for figuring things out. Because I know as a reader, you read that stuff and you're like, good God, you said this 9 times already. Like, now I'm done with the story. Now I want to throw the book out.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't read this
There
anymore.
are certain turns of phrase that are so
Mm-hmm. Well,
pretty. You keep using them over and
when I
over
work with
again.
different authors, yeah, and I've just recently taken on the ghostwriting title, and I've noticed that people write the way they speak.
Yes.
And I didn't notice that because when you read really quickly, like you're reading a text from a friend, you hear it in their voice and you just go on with. You don't really look at how they spelled it. Did they spell every word correctly? Did they use any conjunctions? Did they not use conjunctions? You just don't look at it. You go, oh, okay, that's what she said. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at the way they write, and especially if they're a new writer, they write the way they talk. Because I do it too.
Mm-hmm.
I get caught on those turn of phrase that, you know, if I say however, you'll see it in my typing. Because it's just a filler word. It's something that it's easy to say, like I went to that store instead of this one. It catch me every time.
Donna will catch me out saying, well, and then a comma.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the sentence. And she's like, no, I know you say that a lot, but don't put that in the manuscript.
Mm-hmm. I've been told
So we'll go. We've been doing this about an hour, so let's go around and do like the word that you can't stand, and then we'll end the show.
Oh.
So the word that I can't stand these days is whelp. People will say whelp, WELP.
Okay.
Instead of like we went to the store today. Wasn't planning on going to the store, but we went anyway. Whelp is not the word that you needed there.
Yeah.
I cannot stand that. And you want to correct them, and then you think, this is the way they speak. Okay.
Yeah.
Just let it roll. Just let it, whatever.
What gets me is when people will, and in writing, especially when I see it in writing, they will use then where they meant than, or then where they meant then.
Then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, people, please.
Yes, that drives me crazy on Facebook. I'm going, oh, you did this, and afterwards you did this other thing instead of you did this other thing.
Right. Yeah.
I know what you meant, but it still drives me up a tree.
Yeah.
Right. And do you just keep scrolling or do you educate? Because then when you step in and you're like, oh, excuse me, but that's not how you. And then they get mad at you. I'm like, get a dictionary.
That happened today, as a matter of fact. Someone, and I'll make up another different word. Okay. Scourge. You know, you say this is the scourge of something. They had misspelled it. Okay. And I typed it back and said, yeah, that is my scourge as well. And I typed it, spelled it correctly. That's all I did. I didn't say you misspelled that, but I just in my answer to them, I spelled it the correct way, hoping that they would go, oh, maybe I should look that up. Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah. I got into that habit on AOL. I would repeat the word back, only spelled correctly, hoping that somebody would. But I can't help it. I'm a word Nazi.
Yeah.
And the word I can't stand the most, "ite." Ite.
Okay.
You can't pronounce right.
Or all right.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
I know.
Unfortunately, I know people that actually speak that way.
Yeah, that's a whole nother word.
That's dialect, unless it's in quotation marks as part of the dialogue.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
If you do it as part of the dialogue, yeah, you can get by with. But other than that, no, thank you.
What's
Actually,
your
I
word,
have two more. I
Michaela?
have two more words that.
Oh,
great. I seen that, or I've been there. No, you saw that, or you were there.
Yeah.
Or you have seen it, or you have been there. Yeah.
Yes, Linda. Yes. Dan, where are you at? You're
Linda,
in Georgia, aren't you, Dan?
where do you think I spent my childhood?
Yeah.
Or saying me
as soon
and
as we
somebody.
started saying that, my English teacher said she had heard people refer to themselves as myself. Like in speaking about themselves, they would say myself, but the way she was trying to convey it wasn't correct, and it was just like, oh shit, this is my high school English teacher. Okay. I mean, I knew what she was trying to say, but she couldn't convey it to the class of what she was trying to say, of how to use the word properly. Like, oh, shut up now and walk away.
Yeah.
Oh no, too late.
It hurts. Sometimes it hurts badly.
Yeah. So that's when you're just like, that's okay. I'll just write that down. Just thank you, teacher. Yeah. All right, guys. It has been a fun hour, and I'm glad you showed up. Thank you for coming, and we'll try again next week.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks for having us.
All right. Yeah.